folks. It's Zach Elliott at Feel Free to Argue. And, well, I guess I've been thinking some more about the bank bailout. And there's a certain thing that keeps coming to my mind when I think about the bank bailout. There's this scene in the Princess Bride where the man in black has caught up to Vizzini. And it's right at the beginning of this conversation. Here, I'm going to play that clip for you now.
There's nothing to explain. You're trying to kidnap what I've rightfully stolen.
So the thing that always gets to me about that particular comment is the sense of entitlement. You know, I've got it, it's mine, and now there's no question that I deserve it. And I just have that feeling kind of over and over again, listening to various people talk about, you know, the executive compensation and why they absolutely have to have it. I thought it was very funny, actually, hearing Larry Summers talking about how, oh, we're a nation of laws, and you know, if we don't give these people their money, that it'll totally destroy basically the fabric of our civilization, which I think is the most colossal and retarded joke I've ever heard in my entire life. Because the one thing that nobody ever addresses, nobody even asks the question, is whether or not what these people is making, whether it's fair, whether it in any way is related to any kind of net benefit for society whatsoever. And I don't think we ever talk about that. I mean, as far as Larry Summers' comment is concerned, I mean, I think it's a ridiculous comment. Look at all the people who, you know, don't pay their taxes until it looks like they're about to get a government post. I mean, Timothy Geithner is a perfect example. I mean, the hilarious part about him is that, and the reason why they said that his tax problems were actually worse than, you know, Tom Dashiell's, even though Tom Dashiell got eliminated for it and Tim Geithner didn't, because he's, you know, protected by the Prince of Darkness, I guess, is that Geithner was actually paid the money that he was supposed to pay out in taxes. That's right. He actually negotiated a contract by which his employer would pay his taxes for him. He got a little check from his employer for his taxes. Now, do you get this? I don't get this. I don't get my employer paying my taxes for me, but Tim Geithner did. The problem came in that he took this check that he got from his employer, and instead of paying his taxes with it, he just cashed it and kept it. I mean, why not, you know? I mean, you've already scammed them for your tax money. Why not just keep it, you know? I mean, unless, of course, you're going to get a government post or something, then, you know, I guess we'll have to pay that money now. It's sort of the cost of getting the job. We're a nation of laws, though, right? You know, we can have the person who is the nation's tax collector demonstrate such staggering contempt, and yet it's a breakdown of our society if we don't give bonuses to people who clearly and obviously don't deserve them. And I think, I'm not sure why. I'm not sure why we don't get into this whole notion of fairness. I mean, I think it's part of what underlied the whole, you know, death tax debate, which I never, I guess I understood it because it was framed so brilliantly. You know, talking about how, oh, the government, you know, taxes you your entire life long, and then at the end they come and tax you on your death. And I remember how it was also portrayed as being like, you know, something that targeted family farms, you know, because that's kind of always the rallying point. Oh, let's save the family farm, you know, people can't pass along family farms. Well, the only problem with that is that most family farms, in fact, as far as I could tell, all family farms were exempted before we had the change to the death tax, which is one of the greatest pieces of Republican reframing ever. Um, this whole death tax thing, what it did is it got people who make $20,000 and $30,000 a year to vote to benefit people who make hundreds of thousands, who make millions. Yeah, not hundreds of thousands, people who make millions every year. Which is, I don't know, it's an amazing shell game. It's an amazing thing to be able to have accomplished, to have pulled the wool over people's eyes that completely. So, I think the most important thing about this, and is to just talk about it in sheer elements of fairness, and not worry about, you know, destroying the fabric of society. I mean, what's destroying the fabric of society? Well, as far as I can see, what's destroying the fabric of society is that it doesn't make any fucking sense anymore. I mean, if a person who's a tax cheat can be in charge of the area that collects taxes, if someone can declare that torture is not torture and then not get punished when it's found out later that they were wrong and it was in fact torture, if people who have essentially a parasitic relationship to the economy, in other words, they don't produce anything and they only suck money out of it, if they are considered to be completely entitled to the money they get, whereas somebody who works really hard and, you know, gets together a pension, they have no rights to that money at all. That's what destroys the fabric of society. That's what makes people, you know, give up and say, this doesn't make any sense to me anymore. And, you know, honestly, God help us if any of this stuff does make sense to us. I mean, this is the new normal that's coming. The new normal is that nothing makes any fucking sense. But as always, you can certainly feel free to argue. This has been Zach Elliott, hoping you're having a good day, people.